Hey mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So welcome to the hood. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing out there? If y'all doing all right, you already know what to say. Say amen. I pray you are having a great day, a great week so far. I am in full record mode because I think that I want to take my Empowered Mama Planner and Motherhood is Ghetto journal. I think I want to take it to the next level. I've talked about kind of changing the look and the feel and all that stuff of the planner. I think I want to go back into entrepreneurship when it comes to that. I don't know, y'all. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little scared. Um, and not that my first small business wasn't successful, because it definitely was. It's just that I got burnt out and I lost like my fire and my drive, like to continue to make it successful and to keep doing all the things. So I am a little nervous, and I'm hoping that that doesn't happen this time. But I think that I want to really invest in making the planner um more functional and all that stuff, and also taking it off of Amazon and just selling it myself. And I think I want to look into actually like making the journal myself, like actually like aside from the pages, because I already know how to do that. I know how to to design a journal, but I think I want to like go like where I'm actually making the journals, like punching the holes and putting on the binding, like all that stuff, packaging up and doing like that stuff myself. Um, I don't know, just something in me is like that spirit of entrepreneurship, amen, just keeps tugging at me, and I'm like, I really want to lock in on this. And so for the rest of the year, like I want to work on like this journal and this planner, so that way at the top of the year it's ready to go. So I think that I'm going to be focused on that. So I'm going to be doing a lot of batch recording. So if you see in multiple episodes, I'm wearing the same thing. Don't worry, I'm okay. I'm bathing, I'm changing my clothes, all that stuff. It's just that I may be recording multiple episodes in the same day. And I don't know. I'm not finna keep changing shirts every time it's time to record, because I'm gonna just keep rolling and just keep it going, because it's gonna start to get busy soon. So I want to make sure that I don't miss any episodes. I don't miss any weeks for y'all. So that's what I'm gonna be working on. Um, so before we get into today's topic, I do want to give a disclaimer. There will be some triggers in this episode. We are going to be talking about children mental health, and most specifically, we are going to be talking about suicide in children. So, and topics around suicide and suicidal thoughts. So, if that in any way is too heavy for you and you need to click away from this podcast or not listen to it at all, I completely understand. I do not feel any way about it, because at the end of the day, I want you to make sure you're doing what you need to do for your own mental health and your own mental clarity. So if this is too heavy for you, I completely understand, because it's almost too heavy for me. Amen. It's almost too heavy for me, but I really feel like somebody needs this right now, and I need it right now. So So yeah. So without further delay, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So, um, recently I have been dealing with a lot when it comes to my son Solomon. And I talked about it in a previous episode where I was talking about how I was trying to find Solomon a therapist to work out some of the things that he has going on mentally. And I wanted to be forthcoming and honest. And again, not to air out my business on Beyonce's internet or try to get listens, clicks, views, none of that, because this is something that's really hard for me to share. And I went back and forth whether I was going to share this or not. And I landed on sharing it because I feel like it's important for us to know what's going on with our youth these days, what they're facing, the challenges, and how it may affect us as their mothers and the people that are caring for them and raising them. And I really feel like there's a mom out there who may be going through something similar like I am that just doesn't know what to do. Doesn't know how to help their child feel better, how to get help for their child. So I'm hoping that this episode helps that mom who may be in that space right now. So, um, I've been looking for a therapist for Solomon to talk to because Solomon has been talking about ending his own life. And this started or came about during his sixth grade school year. And that's when it first came up for me. Like, I don't know how long he's been having these thoughts, but I know for me, when I was made aware of it or when it kind of showed itself to me, was during his sixth grade school year. Um, and apologies, there's gonna be some heavy editing in this episode because sometimes I just need to stop and take a minute. Um, so with that, I had been trying to find him a therapist, someone he can talk to, just to figure out what's going on. And first, I want to talk about some statistics. Some statistics when it comes to children, Black children, adolescents, and suicide rates. So according to, and I will cite these resources that I'm getting this information from in the show notes and in the description on YouTube. But according to Google, in the US, the suicide rate for children aged 8 to 12 increased by over 8% annually between 2008 and 2022, making suicide the second leading cause of death for those aged 10 to 14 in 2022. While the total number of deaths remained lower than in any other age group, the dramatic upward trend and significant disparities among certain populations are cause for alarm. A 2024 study in JAMA Network found alarming trends in suicide rates for preteens ages 8 to 12 based on data from 2001 to 2022. Highest rates. Black preteens had the highest overall suicide rate compared to other racial groups. Hispanic preteens experienced the greatest percentage increase in suicide rate over the period. Other groups, including American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, and Pacific Islander preteens, also saw significant increases in suicide rates. Female preteens saw a much larger increase in their suicide rate than male preteens, with the female rate rising over threefold from 2008 to 2022. This pushed suicide from the 11th leading cause of death for this group to the 5th. Ages 10 to 24, the suicide rate for this age group rose 62% from 2007 through 2021, according to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. Ages 10 to 14, the CDC reported that the suicide rate for this specific age group tripled between 2007 and 2018. So next, I want to give you some statistics about suicide in Black preteens. The suicide rate among Black adolescents is increasing faster than any other racial and ethnic group. From 2007 to 2020, the suicide rate rose 144% among 10 to 17-year-olds who are Black. Although the overall youth suicide rate is trending downwards, this data raises alarms about the need to improve and address mental health care for Black communities. Black adolescents are significantly less likely than their peers in other demographic groups to receive mental health care. This is due in part to systemic inequities, including racism and poverty, as well as deeply rooted stigma around mental health and well-founded cultural mistrust of the healthcare system. So those are just some of the stats around adolescent suicide, suicide in Black adolescents, females, and other ethnic communities. And I will say for the experience that we've had up until this point, like finding Solomon a therapist was really hard. It was really hard, and what I experienced just like calling around to different places and trying to get him an appointment. First challenge that I came across was that a lot of providers don't see children that young. And for me, I'm trying to work within the providers that are available through my benefits, through my employer. So I'm looking for the most cost effective thing, because I still have to keep that in mind. I'm still on a budget. So I'm trying to utilize the resources that I have to get my son some help. And I hit a lot of roadblocks because a lot of the providers that are within my network do not see children that young. Solomon is 12 years old. So I kept running into that a lot. Also, too, which is crazy, I kept running into lots of voicemails or answering machines where I would leave a message, leave my contact information, and absolutely no one would call me back. And I know that my son, needs help. I know that. But at the same time, I'm not about to chase you down to give you any type of business. And I just felt like as like a mental health care provider that I was getting way too many answering machines in the middle of the day. It wasn't like I was calling after hours or during their lunchtime or anything like that. I'm calling during normal business hours and no one's picking up the phone. And that was crazy to me. That was just my experience. I know experiences with others are probably different, but that was my experience. And it was really frustrating me. It definitely was really frustrating me because I'm like, I know that if someone needs someone like immediately, there's a suicide hotline, all that stuff. But it's like, damn, like I literally spent like a good 2 weeks calling around and either getting told, no, we don't work with children that young, or getting no response at all. And I was starting to get frustrated and I was starting to lose hope. And I'll pause right there. I'll put a pin in it right there because I want to talk a little bit about how we got here, about how we got to the point of me trying to find a therapist for Solomon and where we are today with this. This all started, like I said, when he was in the 6th grade. I get a call from his school, the school counselor specifically, and they tell me that we have Solomon here in the office, and we observed through his Chromebook browser history that he has been looking up ways to unalive himself. So we need you to come pick him up from school. He's not in any trouble, but we need you to come pick him up because we want to make sure, someone's with him and all that stuff when he goes home from school today. And that was the first time that I had learned that my son was thinking anything about ending his own life, taking his own life, stuff like that. So I was very surprised, very shocked. So, of course, left work, went to go see about my son, brought him home, and we had a talk. And, I was asking him, like, well, why do you feel that way? And he's like, I don't know. That's just how I feel. I feel like I'll feel better if I'm not here. And pause on that for a moment because as a mom, I really felt like, damn, like I must have dropped the ball somewhere. Like I had to have messed up somewhere. And I don't know where that is. Like, was it with the move? Was it, is it with the school? Am I not showing him enough attention? Am I not giving him the support he needs? Am I not talking to him enough? I I immediately felt guilt when it came to this. And and I think that at that point something in me was like, Joy, this isn't about you. This isn't about anything that you did, but your son does need you. And when I'm sitting there talking to him, I could tell that he really he's really not wanting to open up completely to me, which is okay. And I think that that's an important thing to highlight because when things go on with our children, especially something this serious, we really want our kids to just talk to us and open up to us and just the floodgates open. And sometimes when we don't get the response or the reaction that we're wanting, we can be a little aggressive with our kids. We could be like, you need to tell me right now. Like, like I need you to tell me this right now or else. And that's not what I wanted to give for him. I wanted him to feel safe to tell me what was going on. And I wanted him to feel like he wasn't telling me because like he's scared of what happened if he doesn't tell me. But during this interaction, I could tell that he kind of was just kind of closing up. So I didn't want to push too hard. So I asked him, I was like, if you're not comfortable telling me everything or talking to me, that's okay. But would you be okay with talking to anyone? Like a therapist or a counselor? Like, are you comfortable talking with anyone? And he said yes. So that's what started my search for getting him someone, finding him a therapist that he could talk to about how he's feeling. So while I'm doing that, like I said, this is like a few weeks, now we're into the summer and, full swing in summer. We're doing summer activities, stuff like that. So now we fast forward to we're getting ready for back to school. So now it's July and we're getting ready for back to school. And on one particular day, we went back to school shopping. So I took the kids out, went to the mall, everything. They got their clothes, all that good stuff. So then we come back home and the kids are just kind of piddling in their stuff and, just kind of roaming the house, and we're all trying to get everything organized and get everything in their rooms and stuff like that. And I'm sitting at my dining room table, and Solomon is sitting over on the couch. And Solomon is just staring at me. And the look on his face looked like he was mad and scared at the same time. And it's a look that I've never seen on Solomon before. So it scared me. And I said, Solomon, what's wrong? And he was quiet and just was still staring at me. And there was like an intensity in his eyes. Like, it kind of felt like at any moment he was just going to get up and like either like dart out the house or just do something maniacal. Like it was a crazy look in his eyes that I saw. And so when I ask him what's wrong, he doesn't say anything at first. And then he starts crying. And he's trying to find the words, and he's like, wait a minute, give me a second. And he's starting to breathe really heavy. And so at that point, I'm like, I tell the other kids to go in their room, and I have Solomon come over to me, and I'm like, son, what is going on? And he's like, I just keep having these thoughts, like, I want to kill myself. He's like, I feel like just something or somebody is out to get me, and I, I'm just, I don't know what to do. And he goes on to say that he's like, I don't want to die, and I have goals and things that I want to accomplish, but something is telling me that I'll be better if I'm not here anymore. And I won't feel like this anymore if I kill myself. And at that point, I'm trying my hardest not to cry because this is the opening up that I feel like I was waiting for. He was very like frantic, and just like the way I'm explaining it is calm, but the way that he was telling it to me wasn't so calm, and it was like a sense of urgency behind his voice. So I didn't want to panic myself. I didn't want to start crying or do anything so that way he would shut down. I didn't know what to do. Though honestly, the only thing that I knew to do was to listen. And he goes on to say that he just wants to be somebody that people look up to, and he wants to be someone that people learn from, and he just wants to achieve his goals. But there's just something on the inside of him that is telling him that he would be better off if he's not here. So I ask him some questions, and what I gather is that, of course, the majority of this is coming from the passing of his dad, which honestly, y'all, like when my husband passed away, it flipped our lives upside down. And Solomon had a very delayed reaction to his father's passing. Not that he wasn't sad or he didn't care. It's just that like he showed very little emotion when it came to it. He didn't cry or anything like that, at least in front of me. He didn't cry, and he was very adamant about stepping up and and making sure that his family was okay in his absence. So he was very focused on that. So, of course, the majority of where this is coming from is from that. Also, too, when my brother passed away, that was very shocking. That was very sudden. And my brother was like that uncle. You know how you have that uncle that you're super close with, and they're like a dad, but like in a different way, and they show you and teach you different things. Like that's how my brother was for him. So that affected him as well. And in the and a lot of it and a lot of what went on, like he really didn't understand because everything was so fast and everything was so sudden. And for the most part, he was just really thinking and looking for answers, looking for like, well, why did this happen this way? And, you know, like, could this have happened? And just a lot of confusion around that. And he he has come to the conclusion in his mind that if he dies as well, he will be or go wherever his dad and his uncle are. He doesn't know that for sure. And the only thing that stopped him at this point from actually going through with his thoughts is that he's afraid to die. I know that doesn't make sense, but he's afraid to die because he doesn't know for sure if he dies, if he'll end up in the same place as his dad and his uncle. I feel like if he knew for sure, like if he had concrete evidence, because Solomon is very literal. He's a black or white kid. It's either this way or that way. And everything has to have logic behind it. You have to show him the facts, or else he won't believe you. So I feel like if he was giving concrete, indisputable facts that if he ended his life, he would end up in the same place where his dad and uncle is, and he can live out the rest of his life with them, he would do it. He would do it. But the only thing that's stopping him right now is that he's scared, and he doesn't know if that's true or not. And that scares me because what happens when he's not afraid anymore? What happens if he gets to a point where he doesn't care whether he ends up with his dad and uncle or not? He just wants it to end. And that's scary for me because if anyone listening to this podcast has had the opportunity to know Solomon, like truly who he is, you would know that if this were to happen, like we would be losing the brightest light in this world. And I'm not saying that because he's my son. I'm saying it because it's true. Solomon is amazing. And I've told him this. A lot of people have told him this, but Solomon is truly a gift from God. And myself, I cannot see a world or living in a world without him in it. And I want to help him so much to see his own light. But I've hit a wall with this. I've hit a point where nothing that I say, nothing I give him, there's nothing I can do to help to change the way he's feeling. And it's not from a lack of trying, because I pour genuine, authentic love into my kids. Everything that I do when it comes to my kids, I'm very intentional about because I know that kids remember everything. And Solomon specifically remembers everything. That's his autistic superpower. He has a great memory. So, in the absence of his loved ones, like I'm doing everything that I can not to not to replace or make him forget, but I'm just doing my best to help him feel better. And if I could just put a band-aid on the parts of his heart that's broken, like I would do it if that meant making him feel better. So I make sure that I give him the attention that he needs. I make sure like I'm checking on him, and even with him having everything that he's ever asked for, like I hardly ever say no to Solomon because Solomon hardly ever asks for anything to begin with. That's first off. So, as his mom, knowing that like I'm not equipped to help him with this the way that he needs to be helped, like it breaks my heart. But I know that as his mom, like I have to have that self-awareness that there's gonna come a time where my kids go through something that I'm not equipped, whether like if that means with enough information or resources or education, like whatever it may look like, there's gonna be a point where I can't help my kids get to that finish line of whatever that they're going through. And I need to be able to get help and being able to discern what that help might look like. So this is tough. Like, this is super tough for me. And being the type of mom that I am, again, the guilt feels heavy, but I know that it's bigger than me and it may not even be about me. As a matter of fact, I know it's not about me. At the end of the day, my son, he misses his dad, he misses his uncle, he misses the way things used to be. And also too, he's changing. He's coming into adolescence. There are things going on with his body and all that stuff that he is trying to get his mind wrapped around. And then on top of that, he's dealing with other kids who are not as sensitive, who, say whatever they say to him. He's dealing with bullies. He's dealing with, you know, just things that kids deal with. And kids are mean. Kids can be very mean. So, uh, with all that going on, there's just a lot of confusion in his mind, and it's overwhelming. And I can only imagine what he may be feeling on the inside, but he only knows. And he's the one that's carrying that burden. So it's easy for me to sit here and say like, son, like, no, like you shouldn't feel that way. You're a great kid. You have your whole life ahead of you. But like, how can I make him understand that that's the truth when he has so many voices in his head telling him that's not the truth? I can't fight those demons because I can't see them. I can't, I don't live with them. He is the one that lives with them. So I had to be able to recognize that this is the part of motherhood that gets real ghetto when what I'm doing is not enough. And it's not from my lack of trying. I love my kids down. Like, I love them so much, and I give them so much love. Not the monetary stuff, like, not through buying them everything they want, like, I genuinely invest my time in my kids, and time with my children is important to me. So, to know that I have a child that's feeling this way, that he thinks that he would be better off not here, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around. Like, that's hard for me to wrap my mind around as his mom. So, after we had that conversation and he kinda let it all out, he was crying. It's one of the very few times that I've seen Solomon actually cry, like a real cry, and he can't stop the tears, anything like that. I was like, "Okay, like, I'm through playing with these therapy counselor offices, like, I need to find somebody ASAP." So, that we went back to school shopping on, I wanna say, a Thursday. So, that next day on Friday, I was back on the beat, trying to find someone, calling around. And I was sharing this story with one of my very good friends, and he hopped on his phone and was like, "I'm gonna give you the information to the child therapist that I used to see when I was a kid." And I love this man. So I'm gonna give you his information, give him a call, and maybe he'll be able to help. So I gave them a call. I got their answering machine. So I was like, whatever, not again. But I left a message and I explained that I'm looking for a therapist for my son. He's dealing with a little bit of depression and he's having thoughts of suicide, and he's 12 years old. So and I said in the message, if you treat children that are that age, please give me a call. I left my number. That was that. I didn't hear anything that day, so that's all right. And the next day, they called me back and they were like, "We would love to take your kiddo, this, that, and the third. Let's set up, something. We'll send you the forms, the consent forms, all that stuff." So I was like, okay, we're finally getting somewhere with this. We're finally getting somewhere. And we had our first therapy session about a week ago, and everything went well. And Solomon felt a little bit better. And I actually learned three things from him going to that therapy session that I did not know, that Solomon never told me, but said that he was comfortable sharing with me after he talked to the therapist. There's three things that I didn't know about my son that he shared. First thing is that he is a fan of Tyler, the Creator. Which is wild because I didn't know that Solomon had like a favorite artist. I didn't even know Solomon listened to music, because I've never seen him do it. Like, I've just never, and he never talks about it, none of that stuff. So that was very interesting to learn. And I'm here for it. Amen. Like, I like me a little bit of Tyler, the Creator. And I think that that's all right. I love that. So that was the first thing that I learned. And the second thing that I learned is that he would like more memories of like his dad and his uncle. So like more pictures to look at, and pictures that like around the house. Like, he wants to keep the memories. So that's one thing that I've been wanting to get better at, and I'm starting to, is instead of keeping all the pictures in my phone, like actually printing them out and making little photo albums, because I think I talked about this in one other episode, like, um, I think it's the episode about advice for first time moms. Like, we always ready to take a picture of the kids to post on this and that and all that good stuff, and then we never show our kids the pictures. Like, we we never share it with them, and they just live on the internet for everyone else to look at, and we don't ever take those memories out of our phones. So, I myself, like, I have been doing that, gathering pictures and just printing them out and putting together just not the biggest photo albums, but just a little photo albums, like, so they can, either have them in their room or they're in the living room and they want to look back on memories. Um, when my grandmother passed away, I took a couple of her photo albums, of me and my brothers when we were little and growing up, so that way they could see, like what their mom looked like as a child, and and know that, yes, like, it's true, I was a kid before, like, just like you. So I've been trying my best to do better with that, and that's something that he says that he needs those memories, and I'm here for that too. And the third thing that I found out um was that he visits his dad's memorial site every day. It's like a obituary website where people left, like, condolences, comments, pictures, stuff like that. And he goes to that site every day. Now, when he said this, I was thinking in my mind, like, maybe not every day. Maybe he visits often, but I don't know if it's every day. I think he might be exaggerating. But I'm saying this in my mind. I'm not saying this out loud to him. But at the same time, I was shocked because I was like, I didn't know you visited that site. I gave all my kids the website, like, it's okay if he does visit it, but I just didn't know that he was still going to the website, looking at the pictures. So I was like, okay, like, all right, I know what I need to do. I need to help my son get these memories together because this is what helps him feel better. So that night when we got home, I asked Solomon, what do you think about this? Like, is this something you think you want to continue? And he's like, yeah, I want to come back. He's like, I want to come back every week. And I was like, well, because this provider is not within my network, so I am paying out of pocket for this. So I told him, I was like, hey, I probably can't do this every week, but we can do it maybe every 4 weeks, like once a month. So that way we can make sure, like, you have like a standing appointment with your therapist. And he said, okay. He's like, that works. And the one thing I want to call out about this doctor's office too, that I noticed was that not only were there a lot of children there, but there were a lot of Black and brown children, which I absolutely loved. And they were Solomon's age group. So that made him feel comfortable. It made him feel a sense of belonging. And I don't know if that was just the day, like, or by coincidence, but he saw a lot of kids that looked like him. And that was good. Like, I was like, amen. I'm glad that there are kids that look like him that are getting help that they need too. So that was a bonus. So that night, we're home now, and the other kids are checking up on him, and they're playing, having a good time. And then I remember what he said about going to his dad's memorial site every day. And I have their phone set up to where I have them set up on iPhones, but it's like a child iPhone. So I can see their web browser history when I look at their screen time. So I went to go look. I was like, let me see. Let me see how often he visits this page. And sure enough, every single day he's on that site. Sometimes multiple times of the day. And y'all, when I tell you I burst into tears, I burst into tears because my baby's heart is broken. And like I said, like not being able to take his heart and mend it, put it back together and give it to him, like, I feel like I failed. Like, I know that's not true, but I feel like I failed. And because of the fact that there's nothing I can do to bring his dad back and bring his uncle back, I feel like I failed. And I'm telling you, this feeling sucks. At the end of all this, I'll probably need some therapy. I probably need it now. Um, but it sucks because I want to be my children's hero. I want to be the one that they know that they can count on. And I don't think my son feels like I let him down or anything like that. I don't think he feels like that, but man, it's hard to shake. Like, it's hard to shake that feeling. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that he's getting the help that he deserves and he needs. I'm glad that we found someone that cares about him, that cares about what he's going through, is patient with him. And I'm glad that he feels comfortable enough to express these things. Like I said, like that blew my mind about Tyler the Creator. And he's never said this before. And even when I told my other kids this, they were like, really? Like they didn't even know. Like, and this is the kind of breakthrough that I need. Like, this is the breakthrough that we need. We need to be open. We need to know, like, what we like, what we don't like. And I'm interested to see how this journey turns out. I'm interested to see what Solomon learns about himself. I'm interested to see, like, the action steps that they gave him, like if it's gonna work out for him. I'm just so excited at the end of the day. And I'm excited to see how this changes the way we communicate with each other, our dynamic, because the dynamic up until this point, like, has been like mom the advocator. Like I've been I've been Solomon's advocate since day one, and I'm kind of like that person. So, and of course, being his provider and his caregiver and stuff like that. But I'm excited to see how our mother-son dynamic unfolds once he starts working on himself and focusing on taking care of himself. So this is hard, and I'm definitely more than anything and anytime I am leaning on my faith. I am leaning on the Lord, and I just have to trust that this is the right thing for him right now. As much as I want it to be peaches and cream and I want him to be happy, sunshine, rainbows, we're in a dark space right now. And I have to be woman enough to admit that and not try to glaze over it with all this overstimulating love and attention that he may not need. And I just want to do right by him. I want to give him the care that he says he needs. And I think that he's old enough to tell me what he needs. I don't want to impart anything on him that's not going to help him to be successful and help him to get some or gain some mental clarity. I just don't want to mess this up. So I'm taking my hands off the wheel and I'm trusting in his therapist and I'm trusting in God. and I'm trusting in his ability to be able to want to feel better, or his need to want to feel better. I trust my son. I trust him. I trust that he'll let me know what's good for him and what's not good for him, what'll work and what won't work. I'm putting my trust in I'm putting my trust in this whole process. And I'm not leaning on my own understanding. I'm not going into this thinking that it'll yield a certain outcome and that my son will just be super happy and sunshines after this. I don't know how he'll feel after all this. I don't know what will happen, but I'm trusting the process, and we'll see what happens. And if you are currently going through this with your child, or maybe you don't, maybe your child is going through some things and you just don't know what's going on, I hope that this encourages you to seek help, whether that be a therapist or a counselor, or if you're at that point right now where it's awkward to talk to your kids, then I encourage you to find ways to make it less awkward. If that means, having family therapy, so that way you guys can all sit together. And that's one thing that I knew that wouldn't be beneficial for us, was like family therapy, because Solomon definitely he thrives off of solitude. Yes, he likes friends and, likes to hang out and stuff like that, but I know that my son does best on a one-on-one basis. And he communicates better with people if it's one-on-one, because in a family group setting, he's still concerned about other people's feelings. So he won't say something because he doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, or, he doesn't want anyone to feel a certain way about him. So I knew that family therapy wasn't the answer. So I was like, this is something that he's going to have to do alone, but not alone, because he knows that I'm here for him, and I'm here to support him whatever he needs. And I'm right outside the therapist's office, like if he needs me to come in. So he knows that. But this is something that he's going to have to journey on his own with, because he's still learning a lot about himself as a person. He's coming into his own. He's going to need time to process his thoughts, and, when the things that he thinks and says out loud, he may not want a whole bunch of people to know or to hear. And that's including me and his siblings. And I have to be okay with that. I can't be one of those parents that's like, well, I need to know everything that's going on with you and how you feel at every given time, any given time of the day. Like, I can't be on him like that. I have to trust that in time he will let me know what he wants me to know. And he will tell me how he feels. And I just have to trust him. And I do trust him. So I hope and pray that this is helpful. I hope and pray that this reaches whoever it needs to reach. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. I don't want to say that it's going to be okay, because I don't know if it is. I don't know if after all this me and my son go through, if he'll end up feeling better or worse. I don't know. But this is all I got right now. I'm not a therapist. I'm not trained to handle children who are suicidal. So I have to relinquish the control. I have to relinquish my child, and I have to trust that this is the best thing for him. And I have to be encouraged that I've brought him as far as I can, as far as helping him cope with losing his dad and his uncle, and helping him cope with just being a Black boy in America. I brought him as far as I can. So now I need to trust in the care of others. But I will be here. Amen. I will be close in the background, making sure that my son is okay. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep doing what's within my control. I'm going to keep providing a loving and safe space for my son to land on when days are hard. I'm going to keep an open line of communication. I'm never going to close myself off to my kids, and I will always be here for them. Whatever they need, I will be here for them. Whenever they call, I'm coming. Amen. I don't care where I am or what I'm doing. You call me, you say you need me, I'm there. And that's what I can give for him right now. I can give him a loving home and a sound-minded mom. Amen. That's what I can give my son right now. And I'm here for it. So I hope this encourages you, mamas. And if you are going through anything similar like this, I am praying for you. I am praying for your strength. I am praying for your peace. I'm praying for your child. And I'm praying that the Lord will see you guys through this, no matter what the outcome. I'm praying that He will see you through this. Amen. Like I said, this is the part of motherhood that gets real ghetto. Real ghetto. But there's no one better on this earth to help your child through this than you. So we got a job to do, mamas. So let's get it done. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, too, don't forget to follow the show. The show is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we are also on YouTube now. Amen. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, catch the visuals. You can catch the visuals on Spotify and YouTube. And last but not least, if you want to, you can pick up a copy of the Empower Mama Planner. It is still available on Amazon for a limited time because once I get rock and rolling with this new planner, yeah. So let me cook. Let me cook a little bit. I'm giving myself until like the rest of this year, like to get it together. Like if I'm going to outsource the production of it, like all that stuff, like I'm giving myself the rest of this year to figure this out. So at the top of the year, it's ready for y'all. Planners and journals will be ready with all the cute things with pins and stickers and all that stuff. Like that's what I'm seeing for myself. Like that's what I want for this, for myself and my community. So I'm getting to work, mamas. But yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me the time and the space, amen, to let y'all know what's been going on. And thank you for taking the time to listen. I really appreciate this. This means a lot to me. And it's not easy to get up here and talk about where the things in motherhood that are hard for me right now. It's not easy. But I appreciate you guys letting me hold this space with y'all and get this off because somebody needs this somewhere. Amen. So I'm hoping it reaches whoever it needs to reach. Thank you so much. And until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. And follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.